Hey everybody, welcome to Slash Bash, where today I am bringing you another Choosing Beggar Reddit video. If you want your daily dose of Reddit stories that aren't text-to-speech, then now's the time to subscribe and click on notifications. In our first story, a choosing beggar thinks a free iPhone isn't good enough. Let's jump right in. So I have many examples of my mother-in-law being a choosing beggar, as she lives off the government and my husband. But yesterday my husband had to call the phone company, so it reminded me of this one. My mother-in-law hasn't worked since my husband was in middle school. At the time of this story, she was living in Section 8 housing with a 3-year-old she gained custody of. He's not biologically related to any of us. With her being home all day with another kid around my son's age, we agreed she would watch our son a few days a week while we worked. My mother kept him a few days as well. My mother-in-law had a bad habit of not paying her phone bill and having her phone shut off or getting a cheap phone that broke down constantly. Since she kept our son, we needed her to have a reliable phone. So my husband and I agreed we would get her a phone on our plan and cover part of the bill. She would pay us a set amount each month. That way, even if she was late, she would still have a working phone. My husband picked out the phones for all of us. He got new iPhones for the two of us and an older iPhone for his mom. She hated it. Not because it wasn't brand new, but because she never had an iPhone and didn't want to learn how to use it. We told her the contract was signed. We were covering part of it plus the insurance, and it was a lot nicer of a phone than she had had in the past. I even gave her an old iPhone case I had that was really sturdy. She didn't like it because it wasn't decorative, so she got a flimsy one off Wish. She rarely carried it with her and often let the 3-year-old use it. We explained to her that it's expensive and fragile and she shouldn't just let him have it alone in his room. Well, as you can imagine, she didn't listen, and he broke it. Cracked the screen pretty severely. When we got on her about it, she defended him saying, "Well, it was an accident. He just dropped it. He wasn't being rough." It doesn't matter. You don't give a phone to a toddler. We aren't upset with him. We are upset with you. We had insurance on it, so my husband took her to the shop to see how much it would be to fix it. I can't remember exact price, but after insurance, it was a bit over $100. She started to turn into a Karen and complained, "Well, why do you even bother paying for insurance?" My husband said she can either pay to fix it or just deal with having to pay for a broken phone. She chose to just pay for a phone she couldn't use, but then stopped paying after a few months. My husband called and had the line cut off, but we still had to pay the phone off. My mother-in-law somehow got it in her head that she could give the phone to her niece, 11, without telling us. The niece paid to have the screen fixed, but it still had issues and the line was disconnected, so it wasn't usable. My mother-in-law said once we paid the phone off, she could get it fixed and activated again. We said no, if we pay for it, we are keeping it. So we took the phone back. My mother-in-law is mostly out of our lives now. My husband won't cut her off completely, but we stopped letting our son go over there when she kept bringing in roommates. That's illegal if you have Section 8 housing. Cops got called and drugs were found on one of the roommates. Child Protective Services took the boy and placed him with another family member. He may come to live with us eventually. Still working out the details. We couldn't take him away sooner because we had temporary custody of our other niece while her mom was in jail. So yeah, that's my lovely mother-in-law. At least my husband is amazing. Story number 2 shows us a choosing beggar who wants custom-made beer for her wedding. A little over a decade ago, a good friend of mine was getting married. I was as broke as college students come, so I couldn't get them anything on their gift registry, and I felt like I was letting them down. While out with a few friends one weekend, we collectively came up with a brilliant plan. We were all avid home brewers, so the 3 of us were going to make a 5-gallon batch of bachelor party beer in the groom's favorite style. And another batch for the people in the wedding party. bride, groom, groomsmen, bridesmaids, mothers, fathers, etc. on the big day. It was brilliant, and we were able to make some killer labels to accompany some righteous homebrew. The bachelor party beer was named Last Sip of Freedom IPA, and the wedding brew was Off the Deep End Lager. It was well received by all, and us brewers received tons of attention and praise. After the bride and groom departed in their just-married convertible, the rest of us that didn't care for the night to end headed out to keep the party rolling. While waiting for drinks at the bar, I struck up conversation with one of the bridesmaids, and she mentioned how awesome of an idea the custom beers were, and I saw this as my I'm gonna get lucky moment. That was my idea. You made those beers? Yeah, me and a few friends thought it would be a big hit at the wedding, and we had fun brewing different batches to perfect it. Can you do that for me? What? My fiancé and I are getting married in 3 months, and that would be so amazing if you made beer for us, but different styles. My younger, dumber self didn't even think to look for rings. I mean, I guess I could do that, but I'd need to know what kind of beers you want me to make so I can give you a quote. Choosing Beggar became visibly annoyed. Quote? Like you want me to pay for it? Yes. Oh, how much did they pay? They didn't pay, it was a gift from a few friends. If they didn't pay, then neither should I. I'm already over budget on my wedding. Why can't you just make it for me as a gift too? I would be down to do it for you if you purchased just the ingredients, and bottles needed to make a good batch. You don't need to pay my labor. I'm fine working for the experimental beer batches. I don't see how that should be my concern. They didn't have to pay, and this would be a great way to not have to pay for an open bar. Will you please do it, please? No. That's not fair. Why not? Because I've been friends with them for 5 years and friends with the groom for 10 years. We haven't even been talking for 5 minutes. I haven't even been invited to your wedding, so unless you're willing to pay, it's not gonna happen, princess. At this point, I was done with the conversation, so I grabbed my drink and headed back to the group. I made the most of the night, but I could feel her burning gaze on me for the rest of the evening. I told the guys, we had a chuckle and continue to laugh about it whenever we all meet up. I have since made kegs for parties, custom crushed wine for family members and close friends' weddings, graduation parties, and divorce parties, as long as they are willing to pay and provide the glass. Story number 3 shows us a choosing beggar who throws a tantrum at a christening. I crochet as a hobby, and occasionally people will ask me for commissions. I have a price list already worked out. Anyway, my cousin Annie had a baby last year. I made the baby a blanket, cardigan, hat, and booties. I made them for free as my cousin lived with me growing up when her mom passed away, and I see her more as a sister. It was my gift for her. Annie used the blanket in the baby's newborn pics and also posted a pic on Facebook with the baby in the cardigan and tagged me in it. At the baby's christening, another cousin of ours, Karen, came to me out of the blue. I haven't spoken to her in 2 years after a big falling out. No one likes this cousin. She was only at the christening because our grandma wanted her there. She had seen all the pictures of the baby with the blanket. She asked me if I'd make her the same things I made for the baby, as her sister-in-law was having a baby. I told her my price list for it all, and she started laughing and put her arm around me saying, "You don't charge family." I refused to do it for free, and she had the audacity to ask me why I would make one for Annie for free and not her. 1, it's Annie's baby. Karen wanted it to gift to her partner's sister who was pregnant. She'd only been dating the guy for 4 weeks. I just said, "Because I really don't like you," and walked away. A lot of the family thought it was hilarious and couldn't believe how Karen was kicking off, which only made Karen more annoyed, and she started throwing a tantrum. This was at the beginning of this year around February. I've just bumped into Karen's sister at the shops. I haven't managed to see her since the christening because of lockdown. She told me that Karen and her partner split up a couple of weeks later. Apparently, one of the reasons was because of the whole christening incident. Her partner said Karen embarrassed him as he'd never beg for free stuff, and he would have just paid the price. In our final story, a choosing beggar begs for her job back, then shows up at work drunk. I have a coworker who was recently fired. She begged to be rehired, and then she immediately got fired again. So the reason she was fired initially was that she flipped a manager off and hurt a fellow coworker. She begged and begged for her job back, but when offered her job back, she refused it because the company wanted her to be placed on probation. The district manager gave up the fight and decided to allow her back with only 3 days of probation, and she accepted. She comes back to work and surprise, surprise, she went back to her old ways, begging to leave, then getting mad when she's cut early, begs for food from other restaurants but refuses to pay for the food, wants everyone to run her table's food but refuses to run anyone else's, etc. I'm not sure what the hell she was thinking, but a few days ago she decided to show up to work plastered. So drunk she could barely walk. She tried rubbing my belly while giggling and telling me, "It's not a baby in there, I must have swallowed a watermelon seed." She ran into multiple walls and I kid you not, she actually peed her pants. She was fired, obviously, but she didn't understand why she was fired. Like, being drunk at work isn't a danger. She then proceeded to call 18 times the next day, begging to have her job back, but again stating she'll only return if her requests are met, like she had the upper hand or something. She has called almost every day asking for her job back and even asked if we could transfer her to another one of our restaurants, which isn't something that is allowed if you have been terminated. She begged for us to change the termination status and wanted us to call the other restaurant and say she was a good employee. I do feel bad she no longer has a job, but come on, why would you ever come to work drunk? I don't think she should have been rehired in the first place, but after the company decided to give her a second chance, it's incredible that she still decided to not act right. This is John from Slash Bash. Thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed the video and want to see more of them, then hit that subscribe button. We'd love for you to drop a like, share it with your friends, and we will see you in the next one.